It seems that some people are confused about gender, sex, and identification terminology, so allow me to help you better understand. A person's sex and a person's gender are two separate entities. Sex refers to a person's biological status and is typically categorized as male, female, or intersex. There are a number of indicators of biological sex, including sex chromosomes, internal reproductive organs, and external genitalia. Gender refers to the attitudes, feelings, and behaviors that a given culture associates with a person's biological sex. Behavior that is compatible with the cultural expectations is referred to as gender normative. Behaviors that are viewed as incompatible with these expectations constitute as gender nonconformity. Okay, now that we better understand the difference between your physical sex and internal gender, let's look at it a little bit deeper. Gender identity refers to one's sense of oneself as a cisgender male or female, agender, transgender, genderqueer, demigender, gender fluid, and so on. I know I just threw a lot of gender terms at you. There are more, but let's just go over the ones that I mentioned to define them to you so you can better understand them. Cisgender male or female is someone who identifies as the gender that conforms with their biological sex. Someone who is born with male parts and identifies as a man, or someone who is born with female parts and identifies as a woman. Agender individuals don't identify as either male or female. They have no gender identity. Transgender individuals are born as male or female, but internally identify as the opposite gender. A transgender man, for example, was born a female but identifies as a man. Transgender woman was born a man but identifies as a woman. Demigender is a person who has a gender identity that involves feeling a partial but not full connection to a gender. Gender fluid people generally always feel like a mix of two genders, but may feel more boy on some days and more girl on the other days. Genderqueer is the basic umbrella term to cover anyone who doesn't identify as a typical gender distinction but identifies as neither, both, or a combination of male and female genders. Now remember, just because someone identifies as a certain gender does not mean they need to outwardly express themselves in any certain way. Gender expression refers to the way in which a person acts to communicate gender within a given culture, for example in terms of clothing, bodily appearance, communication patterns, and interests. A person's gender expression may or may not consist of the socially prescribed gender roles, so you may have to think outside of the gender binary to better understand. So I hope I've cleared up a couple things for people who may have been confused about sex versus gender and gender identity. Just remember, no matter what your sex or gender is or how you express either of those things, you are important, you are valid, and you are perfect.